the season of evil.
Hey up, it's Steve from the Old Yorkshire Geek, and a bit of Star Wars news. This time it's coming from Forbes, that frightfully posh magazine. I always imagine it is, but it isn't really, is it? Talking about Star Wars streaming shows having bigger budgets than movies. And I think they're talking about Andor in particular for this one. I could be wrong. I've not read it. I've skimmed. Right, so we'll get on with this. But before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell. If you're subscribed already, become a member. You'll get exclusive stuff and early access, or go over to my Patreon and become a patron there, or whatever they call it these days, where again you'll get exclusive stuff and early access. Or go to the store where you can buy merchandise such as this, the USS Alcide from the that Old Yorkshire Geek Starfleet and other stuff. I'm also on Facebook, X and Instagram and all that stuff. Lots of links in the description for stuff to look at. Right, so let's get on with this, shall we? Here it is. There, Forbes revealed the Star Wars streaming show with a higher budget than the films. Ads may pop up. I had to disable my ad blocker. This video is going to move about. From Carolyn Reed, senior contributor, and she covers the entertainment industry. Thank you for letting us know that. There we go. There's Vader. I don't know where that's from. Is that from Andor? Or is it from Rogue One? I don't know. I can't remember. You know what? I forgot what happened in Andor. Genuinely have. Anyway, when Disney launched its streaming platform in November 2019, it had Netflix in its sights. Everybody did. And nobody won, apart from Netflix. As the most well-known streaming service, Netflix was comfortably the market leader, still is. But Disney devised, if you look at the top 10s, it's dominated by Netflix. But Disney devised a magic formula to take its crown. Star Wars was at the heart of this grand plan, and no expense was spared. Much to their, probably, investors' chagrin. Spending money like, it's a bottomless pit, it seems. Disney's first step was removing its content from Netflix. For instance, the Marvel shows like Daredevil and the other stuff. I forgot the bloody names now. You know what I'm like. Daredevil, the Defenders, Iron Fist, and there was that other one, wasn't there? I've forgotten the name. That my son hates. He does hate her. Says she's a bad person. The character, not the actress. Anyway, Disney's first step was removing its content from Netflix so that it could be exclusive to its own streaming platform. It came at quite a cost. There were a few Disney films as well on Netflix. In February 2019, the Mouse forecast that the foregone licensing alone would lead to a loss of around $150 million of operating income during the year, but this was just the start. What they should do is just license stuff to Netflix that they think might not do quite as well on their own streaming platform, such as the Disney animated sequels, like Beauty and the Beast 2 and stuff like that, Lion King 2, etc. Send them to Netflix, but also, maybe have a non-exclusive agreement. You might not get quite as much money, but anyway, whatever. I'm not a businessman. I don't bloody know. Part 2 of them waffling. Part 2 of Disney's grand plan to dethrone Netflix was to commission exclusive content which could only be found on its platform. It figured that the appeal of its franchises like Marvel and Star Wars would tempt subscribers to its Disney Plus streaming platform, and it went all out on this. In September 2019, Variety forecast that Disney's Marvel streaming shows would have budgets comparable to a Marvel film. And they generally weren't very good, were they? Unfortunately. Star Wars was expected to get the same treatment, and it looked like money well spent by Disney. Its first Star Wars streaming series, The Mandalorian, debuted with the launch of Disney Plus and pretty much single-handedly made it an out-of-the-box success. Yes, it did. Disney were rubbing their hands together with glee, like Scrooge McDuck. Ha ha ha! Ooh, we're gonna make lots of money! And they didn't, did they? The show charts the exploits of the eponymous armour-clad bounty hunter, tasked with tracking down the family of a pointy-eared green alien called Grogu. Well, technically not his family, just his people. He was supposed to find his people. Maybe not. It would essentially go to find Jedi or something like that, wasn't it? That's what the point of it was. Who took the world by storm because of its cute appearance. We didn't know it was called Grogu, by the way, until season 2. I think it was season 2, wasn't it? Yes, because Ahsoka told us his name. Little green sod. Grogu is. Who took the world by storm because of its cute appearance and resemblance to classic Star Wars character Yoda. Resemblance. It was originally called Baby Yoda. Unlike Disney's Star Wars movies, The Mandalorian had rustic settings and storylines inspired by westerns, like Star Wars, pretty much. Which won over fans and critics alike. Indeed, it was such a critical success that it was renewed for 2 subsequent seasons, with the latest airing last year. Is that all it was? Season 3? Was it? Was season 3 only last year? It seems like ages ago now. Anyway. Its first season won 7 Primetime Creative Arts Emmy Awards, including the prestigious category of Outstanding Cinematography for a single camera series. For a single camera? I've just got one camera they're using. I don't understand that. The second series debuted in October 2020 and scored the same number of Emmy Awards. It also became the first programme on a streaming platform other than Netflix to claim the top spot on Nielsen's rankings, which contributed to Disney Plus subscriber numbers steadily rising throughout the following year. They get access to all of the content on the platform, so it isn't possible to attribute subscription revenue to specific shows, which prevents their profits from being calculated. Which is a big problem with a lot of streaming services, to be completely honest. You don't know how successful a show is unless they're honest about how many people have watched a show and not just clicked on it for like 10 seconds and clicked off again. Whatever. That counts as a view in some of them, but I don't know. Anyway, I said that a lot, don't I? I don't know. Because I'm stupid. And I'm waffling again. However, there is no doubt that after Season 2 was released, there was a disturbance in the Force. And there he is, the little green sod, Baby Yoda. The third series of The Mandalorian won just 1 Emmy in the Outstanding Stunt Performance category and became the first to face a backlash from fans. The first 2 seasons both earned an audience score of over 90% on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, but the third plummeted to just 50%. It wasn't driven by online trolls. Are you listening, Disney? And actors and actresses. James Hibbard of The Hollywood Reporter wrote that there was some credence to the blowback, as the complaints weren't centred around one thing. Hibbard explained that there were a miasma of grievances ranging... Should it be there was a miasma? I don't know. But anyway, of grievances ranging from plotting and dialogue to unconvincing special effects to jarring cameos, including ones from Christopher Lloyd and Jack Black in the same episode, along with what's-her-face. What am I like with names? Anyway, her that plays the whatever she plays. And is rotund. But apparently she's losing weight now, isn't she? Apparently, I don't know. But I can't remember her name. What am I like? Which he described as campy. According to Nielsen, the third season opened to 823 million minutes of viewing, which was 20% lower than the premiere of the second series, but not low enough to stop Disney from commissioning a big-screen movie based on The Mandalorian and his pointy-eared partner. The thing is, though, about Season 3, it wasn't really about The Mandalorian, i.e. Din Djarin. It kind of moved over to be about Bo-Katan, Katie Sackhoff's Bo-Katan Kryze. She was going to become the Mandalorian, and there were even suggestions that were deliberate. Disney even kind of said that, or Lucasfilm, should I say, kind of even said that the Mandalorian series isn't necessarily just going to be about Din Djarin. Anyway, it is set to be released in 2026, the movie that is, though no further seasons of the show are due to air. Is that true? I don't know. It's not been announced, has it? Season 4. Yeah, I think we're still up in the air about that, isn't it? It is far from the only one of Disney's Star Wars shows which has suffered the same fate. In 2021, the Mandalorian spin-off, The Book of Boba Fett, debuted on Disney Plus, and as Hibbard, I'm struggling to say that. I've already edited out about 3 times me trying to say as Hibbard. And as Hibbard eloquently put it, this is where some problems with the franchise's TV efforts first emerged. He describes it as a struggling show, which was weirdly clunky, well, bloody awful, as 2 Mandalorian episodes were inexplicably sandwiched into its lineup of 7, which were, not really oddly, but, ironically, the best 2 episodes of the series. It was terrible, or Book of Boba Fett. Which is a shame, because, I think everybody kind of likes Tamara Morrison. He's a no-nonsense kind of guy. And people want him to do well. Well, I do anyway. And he didn't do well in the Book of Boba Fett, through no fault of his own. He did the best that he could with what he had. Anyway, the Book of Boba Fett was based on one of the most... Yes, I say Boba, I don't say Boba. So if you watch Star Wars, when it's first introduced, I think it's pronounced Boba. Anyway, whatever. Much like Leia is pronounced Leia when we see it in the series. Some people pronounce it Leia, some pronounce it Leia. Anyway, the Book of Boba Fett was based on one of the most iconic characters in the Star Wars saga, so Disney was taking a tremendous risk by commissioning the show. Fans have such strong feelings about Boba Fett that it was inevitable the show wouldn't appeal to all of them. However, Disney proceeded regardless, driven by a desire to squeeze as much revenue as possible out of the Star Wars intellectual property, in brackets IP, close brackets. Well, yes, that's what they wanted to do, didn't they? And the kind of... I mean, there's talk that they still haven't made money on Star Wars as Disney. So they've forked out $4-point-something billion for Lucasfilm, and then hundreds of millions, billions more on the movies and series, and there's people saying that they still haven't made money back. Anyway. Perhaps, unsurprisingly, it didn't please everyone, and the show scored just 49% on Rotten Tomatoes. Originally designed to be an ongoing series, it is now considered to have reached the end of the road, and it kind of ended on a cliffhanger. With Boba Fett and Ming-Na Wen, I forgot the name of the character already, Fennec Thingamabob. They were going to go off and probably become bounty hunters or do good in the galaxy or whatever, but instead of Boba Fett being this bad guy, they made him good, didn't they, unfortunately. Anyway. Undeterred, Disney proceeded with yet another spin-off based on a beloved character. This time it was Star Wars sage Obi-Wan Kenobi, played in the original movies by Oscar winner Alec Guinness, Bridge on the River Kwai, and more recently Scottish actor Ewan McGregor. According to Nielsen, it opened in May 2022 to just over 1 billion minutes of viewing, which was little more than The Mandalorian's lacklustre 3rd season. Worse still, it fell to 860 million for the finale. So that'd still, if it were on Netflix, that would still give it a 2nd season, because apparently the rule on Netflix, so the rumours go, is that if a series loses more than half of its audience between the first and last episode, it gets cancelled. So it hasn't lost half of its audience. Anyway, it fell to 860 million for the finale, with the audience giving Obi-Wan Kenobi a rating of 61% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was terrible. It was terrible. Well, I don't know. It was like a comedy in a lot of places with Obi-Wan Kenobi. They were trying to be deadly serious and earnest, but it came off as a comedy. I've said it before in videos. The laser field that they could have walked round and they didn't, and other stuff. Hiding Leia, young Leia in the coat. It was awful. It was awful. Anyway, unlike the Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi was always designed to be a limited series. That's why Ewan McGregor is wanting more. Come on, Forbes, keep up. And there are no current plans for more episodes unless you're Ewan McGregor, which he says Lucasfilm are working. What were the words? I can't remember the words, but they're trying to work out how to do a 2nd season, according to Ewan McGregor. And the current no plans. There are no current plans for more episodes, which is perhaps just as well, given how it fared with fans. It was terrible. And there's Ahsoka. There was a repeat performance in 2023 with the release of Ahsoka, based on yet another fan favourite character. By then, fans had begun to tire of Disney's relentless iteration of the format, and the audience scored it 64% on Rotten Tomatoes. It started off well, did Ahsoka, for me anyway. I quite liked the first couple of episodes. And then it quickly devolved. It quickly went silly and rubbish. But unfortunately, anyway. And the ending, that final episode was just terrible. With its switcheroo. Anyway. With 829 million minutes viewed, its premiere ratings were a shade over The Mandalorian Season 3 opener, but fell sharply to an average of around 570 million minutes for the rest of its run. Despite this, Disney couldn't let it go and announced in January that a second season of Ahsoka is in development because it's Dave Filoni's baby and he's the head of creative or whatever his title is at Lucasfilm, so he's got the say, I suppose. Then came The Acolyte, easily the most controversial of Disney's Star Wars shows, and probably its worst, to be completely honest, because that is a genuinely bad show. Looks nice, but it's a genuinely badly written, badly executed show. But well filmed, with good effects, because it's Star Wars, so you'd expect that. Its creative direction and diversity attracted fierce debate, leaving it with an audience score of just 18%, which is lower than the notorious 1978 Star Wars Holiday Special, which I love. I love the Holiday Special. It's that bad, it's fun to watch. I even watch it alone. Sometimes me and my mate watch it and have a good laugh at it. But, sometimes I'll just watch it alone and I still laugh my socks off. It's cringe. Proper cringe, but fun cringe. The premiere of The Acolyte entered Nielsen's rankings in just 7th place with 488 million minutes viewed, but by the end of its run it had crashed to 335 million, which Deadline says was the lowest for a Star Wars series finale. It was such a steep drop that plans for a second season were scrapped just over a month after the first one ended. It wasn't for want of trying. Lots of fans have started petitions and stuff and GoFundMe's to have billboards put up outside Lucasfilm and Disney and all that. Say, bring back The Acolyte. It was terrible. As we revealed, filings from Disney show that $230.1 million, £172.7 million has been spent on the series, or had been spent on the series, when it was only part of the way through post-production. There's been more come out, hasn't there? And it's turned out it cost over $300 million, didn't it? The cost of streaming shows are usually a closely guarded secret as studios combine the amount spent on all of their productions in their expenses and don't itamise them separately on their filings. I was going to say, unless it's in the UK when you've got to, because of the tax rebates or whatever you want to call it that they get, they've got to tell the government everything they've spent, which we're going to get to in a minute. Disney doesn't discuss the cost of individual productions and did not respond to a request for comment. However, detailed analysis of its filings, when I say filings, I always think of like iron filings and with sparks flying off. Anyway, detailed analysis of its filings lifts the curtain on precisely how much it spends on a number of its productions. When studios film in the United Kingdom, as The Acolyte did, and Andor, and most Star Wars films these days. But the prequel trilogy, I think, filmed in Australia, didn't it? That's why you got a lot of Australian and New Zealand actors in it. Anyway, when studios film in the United Kingdom, they tend to set up subsidiaries there which file detailed financial statements as part of the process of claiming a reimbursement of up to 25.5% of their costs. All this tax stuff baffles me. I've had to fill in like tax things for YouTube and Google, AdSense and all that, and it's baffling. I find it completely baffling. Not that I'll get anything, but anyway, the UK government pays this as a reward to shows which film in the UK, and The Acolyte was one of them. Surprisingly, it was far from the most expensive Star Wars show Disney has made in the UK. That honour goes to 2022's Andor, which has been the brightest spot in the Star Wars galaxy since the second season of The Mandalorian debuted back in 2020. Yes, Andor was really, really good. Bit slow. I think the first season, when they made the first season, they thought they were going to get 5 seasons of TV, of streaming space. But that, for some reason, got whittled down to just 2. So they've got to cram in 4 seasons worth of shows into just 1 season. Anyway, which is why season 1 seems really slow. A lot of people called it and bore, but I really liked it. It wasn't perfect by any sense of the imagination, or stretch of the imagination, but I still enjoyed it. Anyway, Andor stars Mexican actor Diego Luna as the eponymous spy. I like that word, don't they? Eponymous. Boba Fett was the eponymous thing. Anyway, the eponymous spy who works for the heroic rebels as they try to take on the might of the Empire, led by legendary villain Darth Vader. And there's Cassian Andor with, I forgot his name. Does it say? Doesn't say. I forgot his name. But played by Skarsgård. I forgot his name. Thingamabob Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård's dad, I think. I forgot his name. Anyway, on a speeder, look. Andor is set 5 years before the tremendously successful original Star Wars trilogy, still the best trilogy by a long way, and feels equally grounded thanks to its heavy use of practical effects and physical sets rather than the digital backdrops which are common in other Disney Star Wars productions, as we have reported. Link there. By the way, link for this article is in the description. Should have said that at the beginning. Andor were filmed on, they actually built sets, which probably explains why it cost so much. I think the same was for the Acolyte. They actually used sets a lot rather than the volume, which the Mandalorian were mostly filmed on the volume, which is that with the big screens that go around, and they just on the screens is the background, and it does look good. I must admit, it does look good, but it gives it a sense of claustrophobia. It doesn't have a scope, even if it's supposed to be set in like a desert wasteland. You can something about it where it doesn't feel open. Even though it looks like it is, it doesn't feel like it is. But anyway, so there we go. So that's why Andor and the Acolyte cost probably more than the others, because they actually built sets and filmed on locations as well. Filmed in locations not too far from where I live. I'm in Yorkshire, but some of Andor were filmed in Fleetwood, I think. I think it was Fleetwood. Which is on the Lancashire coast, about, I don't know, 70 miles from me-ish. I think it was Fleetwood. Or somewhere around that area. Blackpool, that area. There's another town nearby, and I can't remember what it's called. Cleveland's, that sort of place. Anyway, that's where it was filmed. Some of it was filmed. Forgot what I was here. With an audience score of 87%, Andor has a higher rating on Rotten Tomatoes than any of Disney's other Star Wars streaming shows, which explains why a second season was given the green light, albeit they had to cram in 4 seasons worth of stuff into 1 season. And it is due to debut next year. But it should make it more exciting, shouldn't it? It should really make it more exciting. They're doing 3 episodes, then there's going to be a time jump, because they've got to get to 4 years. They've got to get up to A New Hope, essentially, or the Battle of Scarif. Rogue One. They've got to get up to Rogue One, which is set like minutes before A New Hope. Star Wars, to oldies like me. Sorry, last night in the live stream, I bit the inside of my cheek and it still hurts. And I keep catching it. Anyway, where were we? Andor's score is even higher than any of Disney's Star Wars movies, with the exception of 2016's spin-off film Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, nobody calls it that, which also starred Luna. Like Rogue One, Andor didn't come cheap. Rogue One is it's probably my second favourite Star Wars film. Maybe. Or maybe third favourite, I don't know. The Star Wars, Empire, and then probably Rogue One. For a while, Rogue One were my favourite Star Wars film, because it's a war film, initially. But anyway. Recent filings revealed that by the time of filming for the second season of Andor began in November 2022, Disney had spent a staggering $351.8 million, £270.8 million on the show. So is that for seasons 1 and 2 together? Is that what they mean? As the chart below shows, this is 8% more than the cost of making Rogue One and a shade less than the $364.5 million, £278.3 million spent on 2018 box office bomb Solo, A Star Wars Story, which lost money. Essentially because it was almost entirely reshot, wasn't it? They had something like, was it 85, 89% or whatever, 90% of the film done, and then Kathleen Kennedy just fired the directors, didn't she? I forgot the name. Lord and Miller, famous for the Lego movies, fired them because was it Lawrence Kasdan? Either Lawrence Kasdan or his son went crying to her that he's allowing them to ad lib and I can never remember the word. do their own dialogue. And all that stuff, and he wasn't happy with it. They weren't sticking to the script. I'd love to see the Lord and Miller cut, really would, of Solo. See how much better it is than one we got. Even though I didn't hate Solo, it wasn't amazing, was it? Anyway, here's a chart. Right, here we go. Financial force of Andor. So, cost, tax credit, net cost. All right, so that's Rogue One, and Andor costs more than Rogue One in every graph. That's Rogue One, that's Andor. Wow. Anyway, the spending on Andor is shown in the filings Spark for Disney's subsidiary E&E Industries UK, which produced the show. E&E Industries. It was founded in October 2018 to work on Obi-Wan Kenobi, which was planned at the time to be... When I see stuff like that, I'm reminded of I think of Area 51, because there's companies like EG&G and stuff like that work in Area 51. I'm probably going to get a red dot now, but anyway. It was founded in October 2018 to work on Obi-Wan Kenobi, which was planned at the time to be a feature film shot in the historic Pinewood Studios outside London. But when Americans say outside London, they probably say Leeds, a Yorkshire city outside London. That's like 200 miles away. Anyway. Disney had a rethink following the failure of Solo, which lost more than $90 million at the box office, as we revealed. Probably more, to be completely honest. As a result of this, Obi-Wan Kenobi became a Disney Plus streaming series and filming was due to begin in summer 2020. It was not to be. I mean, and everybody had high hopes for Obi-Wan Kenobi because it was directed by, Michelle? Is it Michelle? Deborah Chow. Where'd I get Michelle from? Don't know. Directed by Deborah Chow, wasn't it? We did some great episodes of The Mandalorian. But she dropped the ball with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Anyway, production was put on hold in mid-January 2020 after Disney reportedly became concerned that the storyline was too similar to The Mandalorian as it involved Kenobi protecting a young Luke Skywalker, famously played by Mark Hamill, the famously insane Mark Hamill, just come potty, hasn't he? In the original Star Wars movies. Whenever I see the word Kenobi just by itself, I always think of Principal Skinner in The Simpsons.
Kenobi?
Anyway, the delay proved to be a blessing in disguise as the pandemic soon sent the world into lockdown, giving time for the Obi-Wan Kenobi script to be reworked. It obviously wasn't reworked well. By May 2021, the crew had gathered in Los Angeles and filming finally began. The filings for E&E Industries UK revealed that a total of $7.2 million, £5.6 million had been spent by October 31st, 2019, not long before pre-production on Obi-Wan Kenobi was halted. It is likely that more was spent on the show in the intervening time, but the bulk of the cost should show on the October 31st filings. Oh, pardon me. Crack is going on, isn't it? I didn't think it was this long, this article. Anyway, E&E Industries UK wasn't mothballed when Obi-Wan Kenobi was put on hold. Instead, it became the production company for Andor, which was also shot at Pinewood and on location across the UK. So that caught me cheek again then. A futuristic metro station in London, double for the Imperial Security Bureau on the alien planet of Coruscant. Probably the same place where some of Rogue One were filmed there. I'm guessing it's the same place. While the resort planet Niamos was actually a seaside town in the north of England. Yes, that's what I just mentioned. And I can't remember which one it was. But it's somewhere in the area of like Blackpool, Cleveland, Fleetwood, that area. And there's that's not that. I think that was up in Scotland somewhere. They filmed that scene, that location. In an interview on Comic Book Movie, Andor special effects supervisor Neil Scanlon revealed that around 6 weeks of pre-production had been done on Andor by the time that the UK went into lockdown at the end of March 2020. Filming was delayed repeatedly due to the pandemic, and E&D Industries UK was handed a $1.6 million, £1.2 million grant by the UK government to compensate for this. It also banked $2 million, £1.5 million, from an insurance claim, which came in handy. But it's like, it's peanut money for these sorts of productions. It'll probably just allow them just to, I don't know, just pay off some people, you know. But anyway, the filings show that when shooting was underway on April 5th, 2021, a massive 3,782 people were working on Andor, with women representing 35.9% of the crew. Why do you have to tell us that? Whatever. On average, they were only paid 0.7% less per hour than their male colleagues, so stop moaning, making it one of Disney's most equitable productions. With such a large workforce, it's perhaps unsurprising that Andor's costs were so high. Filming had ended by late September 2021, and by late November, a total of $271.6 million, £202.9 million, had been spent on the show, including the $7.2 million of expenses on Obi-Wan Kenobi. Over the following year, a further $80.2 million, £67.9 million, was spent on Andor, and it is believed that this was largely dedicated to post-production as the show premiered in September 2022. However, pre-production, like I said, post-production, special, visual effects, stuff like that, reshoots, and all that jazz. However, pre-production on Series 2 also accounted for some of the spending, as it began filming in November 2022, which is when the filings are dated. That's nearly 2 years ago. When are we going to see it? Excluding the $7.2 million of Obi-Wan Kenobi expenses puts the spending on Andor Season 1 and pre-production of Season 2 at around $344.6 million. But it doesn't stop there. Sorry, I should do that. Insert clip here.
But wait! There's more!
It also received a $70.9 million... I hope I remember to do that now. It also received a $70.9 million, $54.6 million reimbursement in return for filming in the UK. This brings Andor's costs down to $273.7 million, which is still more than the $269.6 million net spending on Rogue One, and not far off the $298.9 million net expense of Solo. Remember movies, though. I think movies get a lot more marketing budget than TV shows. I think. But anyway. But I could be wrong. Probably am. It is considerably better value for money than either of them, given its length. The 12 episodes of Andor were a total of 547 minutes long, compared to the 133 for Rogue One and 135 for Solo. It gives Andor a cost of around $500,000 per minute, compared to $2 million for Rogue One. $500,000 per minute. Remember when, like, episodes of TV shows, like quality ones back in the, like Star Trek: The Next Generation, they used to say each episode of TNG were $1 million for the episode. This one, $500,000 per minute. Jumping out. Compared to $2 million for Rogue One and $2.2 million for Solo. Crucially, the filings reveal that the cost of Andor was within its budget, whereas Solo and Rogue One were not. It appears that Season 2 of Andor is following in its predecessor's footsteps. It too was made in the UK, and although filings show showing the cost of filming it have not yet been released, the breakdown of its staff has come to light. When filming was in full swing... Oh, bloody cheek of mine. When filming was in full swing on April 5th, 2023, it had just 1,067 employees, less than a third of the number who worked on season 1 just 2 years earlier. They got rid of all the women. I'm kidding. I'm sure they haven't. Probably got rid of all the men. If it has lower cost than its predecessor, but is just as well received, it really will be a force to be reckoned with. And that's the end. I thought we'd never end in that. So there we go. Just saying that Andor costs a lot of money, but there's not as many people working on it. So season 2 might cost a bit less than season 1, but we'll see. I imagine season 2 will cost more in visual effects because I think it'll be more exciting. There'll be more stuff going on in season 2. But so there we go. So there we go. I don't know what the point of that article was, to be completely honest. We all know things cost a lot of money these days, don't they? Particularly TV shows, particularly premium quality TV shows. We need to get back to just doing regular TV shows with at least 20 episodes per season. That's what we need to be getting back to, and not spending, $500,000 a minute on the TV show. That's what we need to get away from. Anyway, right, so that's it. I hope you found that interesting, because I got a bit bored. And I hope I remember to include that clip earlier. If I did, good for me. If I didn't, I'm an idiot. Right, we'll leave it there. So, anyway, don't forget, like and subscribe if you want to keep watching this nonsense that I do. Super professional. Thanks for watching, but don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell, all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. And until next time, I'll see thee.